Previously, we witnessed a moment of incredible promise as God reaffirmed his covenant with Abraham. In the shade of the oaks of Mamre, 3 visitors brought a divine message. Despite their advanced age, Abraham and Sarah would soon welcome a son. Though Sarah laughed at the thought, the Lord declared that nothing was too hard for him. Now, the story continues, moving from this joyful promise to events that reveal both God's justice and mercy. Join us as we follow Abraham's journey through trials, triumphs, and the miraculous fulfillment of God's promise. The sun was dipping low on the horizon as the 3 visitors rose to leave Abraham's tent under the oaks of Mamre. Abraham, ever the gracious host, walked with them for a while, escorting them down the path toward the direction of Sodom. The visitors' presence was extraordinary, but as they moved on, it became clear that their mission was serious. As they walked, the Lord began to speak, sharing his thoughts with Abraham. "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do?" he said. "For I know him, he will command his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord, to do righteousness and justice." The Lord continued, his voice steady yet filled with gravity. "The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is very grievous. I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me. If not, I will know." 2 of the visitors continued on their way toward Sodom, but Abraham stayed behind, standing before the Lord. He had heard enough to understand the weight of the situation. The wickedness of Sodom and Gomorrah was known to all, but Abraham's heart was heavy with concern. His nephew Lot and Lot's family lived in Sodom. What would become of them? Summoning his courage, Abraham took a step forward and spoke to the Lord. "Will you also destroy the righteous with the wicked?" he asked, his voice trembling yet firm. "Suppose there are 50 righteous people within the city. Will you spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous?" The Lord answered with patience and mercy, "If I find 50 righteous within the city, I will spare the entire place for their sake." Hearing this, Abraham felt encouraged but still unsure. What if there weren't 50 righteous? He spoke again, more humbly this time. "Behold now, I have taken it upon myself to speak unto the Lord, though I am but dust and ashes. What if there are 5 less than 50? Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? The Lord replied, "If I find 45 righteous, I will not destroy it." Abraham's heart raced. He knew he was asking much of the Almighty but felt compelled to continue. "What if there are 40? The Lord answered, "I will not destroy it for the sake of 40. Abraham pressed on, his courage growing with each response. "Let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. What if there are 30? The Lord said, "I will not destroy it if I find 30 there." What if there are 20? Abraham asked, his voice soft but determined. "For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it," the Lord replied. Finally, Abraham asked one last time, his voice almost a whisper. "Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet this once. What if there are 10? The Lord, ever patient, said, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it." With this final assurance, the Lord departed, and Abraham returned to his tent. Though his heart was burdened for Lot and the people of Sodom, he trusted in God's justice and mercy. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Abraham reflected on what had just taken place. The God of the universe, the creator of heaven and earth, had listened to his pleas, not with anger but with compassion. Though the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah remained uncertain, Abraham knew one thing for sure: the Lord is both just and merciful, and nothing escapes his perfect knowledge. Abraham trusted that whatever would come, God's will would be righteous and good. As the sun began to set over the city of Sodom, 2 angels arrived at the city gates. Lot, Abraham's nephew, was sitting there, watching the evening unfold. When he saw the two strangers, he rose quickly and greeted them with great respect, bowing low before them. There was something different about these men, something that commanded reverence. "Please, come to my house," Lot said earnestly. "You can spend the night, wash your feet, and rest. Then, in the morning, you can continue on your way." At first, the angels declined. "We will stay in the square," they said. But Lot, knowing the dangers of the city, insisted. "Please, do not stay in the open square." His concern was clear, and the angels agreed to follow him. Lot brought them to his home and prepared a feast for them. He baked unleavened bread, and they ate together in the warmth of his house. For a moment, the night seemed peaceful. But as darkness fell, the peace was shattered. The men of Sodom, young and old, surrounded Lot's house. Their voices rose in a cruel and demanding chorus. "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so we can abuse them." Lot's heart pounded as he stepped outside, closing the door behind him. "Please, my brothers," he begged, "do not act so wickedly." Desperate to protect his guests, Lot even offered his two daughters to the mob, hoping to calm their rage. "Do to them as you please," he said, "but do nothing to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof." But the mob grew angrier, shouting, "Get out of our way!" They pressed toward the door, ready to break it down. Before the mob could force their way in, the angels pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then, with a show of divine power, they struck the men at the door with blindness. The mob stumbled around, unable to find the door, their threats fading into confusion. Turning to Lot, the angels spoke with urgency. "Take your family and leave this place immediately," they said. "The Lord has sent us to destroy this city. The outcry against its wickedness has reached heaven, and the time of judgment has come." As dawn approached, the angels urged Lot again. "Hurry. Take your wife and your daughters and leave, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city." But Lot hesitated, torn between fear and disbelief. Seeing this, the angels took Lot, his wife, and his two daughters by the hand and led them out of the city. Once outside, the angels gave a stern warning. "Escape for your life. Do not look back, and do not stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be consumed." Terrified, Lot pleaded, "Please, let us flee to a small town nearby instead. It is close, and it is a little one. Let us escape there, and we will survive." The angels agreed to his request and allowed him to flee to the town of Zor. As the sun rose over the plains, destruction rained down from the heavens. The Lord unleashed fire and brimstone upon Sodom and Gomorrah, consuming the cities, the fertile plains, and all their inhabitants. The once thriving cities were reduced to smoldering ruins, their wickedness erased by divine judgment. But in the midst of their escape, Lot's wife disobeyed the angel's command. Overcome by curiosity or longing, she looked back at the city they had fled. In that instant, she was turned into a pillar of salt, frozen as a stark reminder of the cost of disobedience. After the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot and his two daughters fled from Zor, the small city where they had first sought refuge. Though Zor had been spared, Lot was overcome with fear of living there, uncertain about the safety and morality of its people. Seeking isolation, he led his daughters to the mountains, where they found shelter in a remote cave. The once prosperous life Lot had known was now reduced to a life of solitude and survival. As the days passed in the desolate wilderness, Lot's daughters began to reflect on their future. They had seen the cities of the plain destroyed in fire and brimstone, and their mother had been lost when she disobeyed the angel's command and looked back. Isolated from other people, the two daughters believed they might be the last family left on earth. Fearful that their family line would end, the older daughter came up with a desperate plan. One evening, she said to her younger sister, "Our father is old, and there is no man left on earth to marry us or give us children, as is the way of the world. Let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him so that we may preserve our family line." The plan was as shocking as it was desperate, but the sisters convinced themselves it was necessary for survival. That night, they gave Lot wine to drink, ensuring he would not know what was happening. When Lot had become drunk, the older daughter lay with him. In his state, Lot did not perceive what was happening. The next day, the older daughter spoke to her sister again. "Last night I lay with our father. Tonight, let us give him wine again, and you go in to lie with him, so we may preserve our family line." Once more, they gave Lot wine until he was unaware of his surroundings. That night, the younger daughter lay with him, and again Lot perceived nothing. In time, both daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter gave birth to a son and named him Moab, saying, "He is the father of the Moabites to this day." The younger daughter also gave birth to a son and named him Ben-Ammi, saying, "He is the father of the Ammonites to this day." Early that morning, Abraham stood on a hillside overlooking the plains. Smoke billowed into the sky like the smoke of a furnace, rising from the ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah. The sight was both sobering and humbling. Abraham knew the Lord's judgment was just, yet his heart ached for the people who had perished. After the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham moved southward and settled in the region of Gerar. This was a new land, unfamiliar to him, and as he considered the customs and dangers of the place, fear began to creep into his heart. He worried that the people of Gerar might kill him to take Sarah, his wife, because of her beauty. To protect himself, Abraham decided to tell everyone that Sarah was his sister. When Abimelech, the king of Gerar, heard about Sarah, he sent for her and brought her into his household. Sarah, following Abraham's lead, did not reveal their true relationship. Abimelech, unaware of the truth, treated Sarah with honor as part of his household. That night, as the city of Gerar lay silent under the stars, God appeared to Abimelech in a dream. His words were direct and alarming. "You are a dead man because of the woman you have taken, for she is a man's wife." Abimelech woke with a start, fear gripping his heart. But he gathered his courage and spoke to God in his dream. "Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Did Abraham not tell me, 'She is my sister'? And did she not say, 'He is my brother'? I acted with a clear conscience and clean hands." God responded, "Yes, I know you acted with integrity. That is why I kept you from sinning against me and did not allow you to touch her. Now, return the man's wife to him, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours." The next morning, Abimelech rose early and summoned his servants. He told them everything that had happened, and fear swept through the palace. Without delay, Abimelech called for Abraham and confronted him. "What have you done to us?" Abimelech demanded. "What have I done to you that you would bring such a great offense upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done." Abraham, humbled and regretful, explained his actions. "I thought surely there is no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she truly is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, and she became my wife." Abimelech listened carefully, though the explanation did little to lessen the gravity of the situation. Still, he sought to make things right. He returned Sarah to Abraham, along with gifts of sheep, oxen, and servants. Speaking to Abraham, he said, "My land is before you, settle wherever you please." To Sarah, he added, "I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver as a public declaration of your innocence. This will clear you in the eyes of all." Grateful for Abimelech's integrity and generosity, Abraham prayed to God on his behalf. In response to Abraham's prayer, God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servants, so they could have children again. The Lord had closed the wombs of all in Abimelech's household because of Sarah, but now his mercy restored them. Through this event, Abraham was reminded that God's protection is greater than human fear. Despite Abraham's decision to deceive, God intervened to protect Sarah, Abimelech, and Abraham himself. The king of Gerar learned the importance of acting with integrity, and Abraham saw once again that God's plans are faithful, even when his own faith wavered. The days in Abraham's camp passed slowly, yet each moment carried a sense of anticipation. God had promised Abraham and Sarah that they would have a son, even in their old age. Though the years had taught them patience, the longing in their hearts remained. And then, at the appointed time, the promise came to pass. The Lord visited Sarah, just as he had said, and her body, which had long been barren, began to show signs of life. The once impossible had become real. Sarah was with child. The camp buzzed with wonder at the news, and Abraham's heart swelled with joy. As the months passed, Sarah's pregnancy became a living testament to God's power and faithfulness. At last, the day arrived. Despite her advanced age, Sarah gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The cries of the newborn echoed through the tent, filling the hearts of all who heard them with amazement and joy. Abraham looked at his son, his eyes shining with awe, and named him Isaac, which means laughter. The name was fitting, for both he and Sarah had laughed at the idea of having a child at their age, but now their laughter was pure joy. As Abraham held his son for the first time, he marveled at God's faithfulness. He was 100 years old, a father at an age when most men had long given up hope of such things. Sarah, too, could hardly contain her delight. She looked at the child in her arms and said, "God has made me laugh, and everyone who hears will laugh with me. Who would have thought that I would nurse a child in my old age? Yet here I am, and I have borne Abraham a son." The camp erupted in celebration. Servants and family members rejoiced with Abraham and Sarah, recognizing that Isaac's birth was not just a family blessing but a sign of God's covenant and his power to fulfill his promises. On the 8th day, following God's command, Abraham circumcised Isaac. The act was a sign of the covenant God had established with Abraham and his descendants. Though Isaac was still an infant, his life was already entwined with the divine promise that his lineage would one day become a great nation. As the days turned into weeks, Abraham and Sarah continued to marvel at the gift they had been given. Isaac was more than a child, he was the fulfillment of years of waiting, a symbol of hope and faith rewarded. His birth was a reminder that nothing is too hard for the Lord and that his timing, though sometimes mysterious, is always perfect. In the years to come, Isaac would grow to be the heir of God's covenant, carrying forward the promise made to Abraham. But for now, he was simply a baby, a miraculous answer to prayers and the embodiment of a laughter born from faith. The birth of Isaac marked the beginning of a new chapter for Abraham and Sarah, a chapter filled with joy, gratitude, and the unshakable knowledge that God always keeps his promises. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through Genesis chapters 18 to 21. We've seen God's justice in Sodom and Gomorrah. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah was a powerful reminder of God's holiness, justice, and the importance of righteousness. Though the cities were gone, Lot and his daughters were spared, a testament to God's mercy for those who follow his warnings. His mercy toward Lot, and his faithfulness in fulfilling his promise to Abraham and Sarah. These stories remind us that God's plans are perfect, even when they seem impossible. If you enjoyed this story and want to continue exploring the amazing narratives of the Bible, please subscribe to our channel. Your support means so much, and we look forward to sharing more of these timeless stories with you.